Chief Jacquelyn Frausto, thank you so much for sitting down and doing this interview with us. You'll be sworn in on January 5th, in the coming new year. And so take me back to, whenever you got that phone call from the city of Freeport.
It was back in December 12th, and I'm a very highly devoted faith follower of our Virgin of Guadalupe because of my Mexican heritage. And it was on that day that I received the phone call of the interest of me wanting to take the position or not, what it entailed, what were the expectations, what was the vision of the city, what was needed for the residents. And I absolutely, without a doubt, just said yes. I'm there to serve.
You mentioned faith. Do you believe that faith was almost a part of that on the day that you got that phone call?
Oh, absolutely. And it could be very many religions that one would think about and pray to and practice, and everyone has their own individual faith. Mine is devoted in culture, and mine is devoted in what I grew up in, especially with believing in La Virgen de Guadalupe, is what we call the Virgin Mary. I'm a God-fearing person. I believe that the power of prayer is important to guide you. And when it came down to that day, that guidance and that call was very important, and I had to answer that call.
What was it like when you told your family and said, guess where I'm going?
First person I told was my husband, who's been the biggest supporter of every adventure that I have been on. He also is a 30-year Chicago police veteran, detective who works with the ATF. So we work hand in hand. So he was the first person that I thought of my mind, to tell. And he was just like, let's do it. Why not give the residents in the community of Freeport what you have to offer?
What is it like? You're here, it's, even though not officially until January 5th, but what is it like? You're here in Freeport.
I'm the type of person that works in the background. The first thing that I said was, I don't need to start off with square one on January 5th after I'm swearing. That's not how I work. I have to know who I'm working with, what team I have, especially my officers, my lieutenants. I made a surprise visit one day on a Saturday just to introduce myself. And I think it's important that they know who they're working with. I think it's important that they know that I am there for them. There's a mentor of mine that always said this, and he said, let's just take this like the NFL, right? The Bears. Same playbook, we're going to add in a little bit of new defense and offense games to it and plays, but it's the same team. We might add on 3 new members like we did this morning. We added 3 new members on, but we're here to work together. Bears coach is doing so well. He is taking on what the previous people have done, and that's what I'm here to do. I take on what the previous chiefs have done and push forward their vision.
So tell us a little bit about your experience in Chicago. You spent 27 years, correct, in the Chicago police force, starting out as an officer and working your way through the ranks.
Yes. So 27 years working in Chicago in the most gun-ridden, narcotic-driven, poor socioeconomic, but full of rich life, full of culture, full of positivity to make their community correct and a safe place to live. That's who I worked for those people. Then from there, I worked in narcotics. I worked on the gang team. I worked on the tactical team. I worked with the detective division. So I was very, very fortunate enough to learn from the best of our department. There is a saying where you put on that police uniform and you're here to serve nobly, and that's what I'm here to do. Then from there, I was able to work as a project manager for a lot of our computer systems, and I brought in some applications and working with them. Worked for 2 superintendents, and then I took the exam. I was made sergeant for 12 years. In the last 5 years, I was commanding officer of 2 units.
And here we are.
And here we are in Freeport.
There was some comments when we received the press release and all of the news media, distributed saying, congratulations, this is Freeport's next chief of police. And the one comment, in fact, it was one of the first comments that showed up. She's another DEI hire. What do you say to those people?
It's one comment, right? It doesn't define what the community represents. It doesn't define what people think. It doesn't define what my officers think, and it doesn't define what I think. What matters is action, and what matters is that those officers go home safe to their families, and the residents have trust in my officers.
Now, moving forward, how do you really plan to, be in the community of Freeport and really be its leader?
Well, right now is what I'm doing is understanding who my officers are. I just had a meeting with my lieutenants. I needed to know who they are, not what they're doing as a lieutenant, but who they are outside of this department. What is it that still makes them come to work? If I don't understand that, I'm never going to understand their why. And I think that's very important, understanding their why. And we had a great meeting. We had a vision of what they wanted to do, what they wanted to continue doing. And then after that, I met my sergeants and a couple of officers on the night shift, met my dispatchers. I have to get to know who they are first. Then after that, you create a plan with the vision of those officers, because they're the ones that actually honestly know what's happening. And then I'm going to do the ride-alongs with them. Like New Year's Eve, we just did a New Year's Eve operational plan, which when I'm told that there was never a New Year's Eve operational plan. So we're going to have that to make sure that the residents and the community of Freeport celebrate in a safe way, that they feel safe, that the fact that, if there's anything that needs to be done when it comes down to being overserved, that they're not overserved. But I want to make sure that my officers are there. We are at a full complement, which is good. On that night, I will be out there. I will understand who they are. I will understand the residents in regards to what they believe safety is for them.
I've interviewed quite a few chiefs and sheriffs and officers, but one thing that stands out is that it seems like you really care. It seems like you really care about the people and not just the symbol behind the desk. It seems like you're really in this community.
Well, in order to serve a community, you have to be passionate about your profession. You have to be passionate about what that profession actually entails and who it affects. If I didn't have that, if I didn't have it in my blood, if I didn't understand that, there would be no way that I would be sitting here with you and say that I will become the chief of police of Freeport.
I do have one more personal question. In 1998, did you ever think one day, hey, I'm going to be the chief of police? Culture was different back then.
Yes, it was. I'm going to say that every day I would never have thought of a what if. The thing that I have taken away from my life, and what I also teach my children, and what I also tell my officers, is this. Everything can go away in an instant, either by some type of tragedy, natural force, your money goes away, bankruptcy, property, homes, anything. But the one thing that you worked hard for that, anybody could work hard for that, and they're very proud of it. But you never know how it may be taken away. But the one thing that can never be taken away from you is your education. You can start over with your education. You can bring back something that you wanted with your education, and that's what I did. I did that wholeheartedly knowing that one day I have to give back, and that I am an example to not only anybody that looks like me, anybody that would like to make sure that it can be done at whatever age, but I also serve as an example for my family. And that was important.
Not only your husband, but your kids must be very, very proud.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And we saw in the press release too about the colleges and even serving this country.
Yes, yes.
And as a mom, I'm sure you're very proud too.
I am very proud to be their mother. I'm sure that they'll tell you that they couldn't get away with anything in our household. But again, I can't emphasize enough on how not everybody could afford education. I get that, but there's a way to do it. I came from a very poor background where I used to look for food in the garbages with my mother, while my dad got up and left and went to go buy milk and never came back. We were on food stamps. I had to translate a lot for my mom. But the one thing that she did say is no one can take that away from you. And I'm proud of that. I created a family. I created a character. I created who I can be for everyone else. It's not just me. It really isn't. It's everyone who I serve, from the residents of Freeport to my family to the person who's actually saying, hey, how are you? How's it going? That's who I serve. It's an altruistic type of living. And I think that's what I've always done. So for my family, I want to serve as an example. So if they ever should say, no, I can't, oh, yes, you can. It's possible. Will it take time? Absolutely. But here we are.
Have you heard of the 30 by 30 initiative, 30% of women in the police force by 2030?
Yes, I have.
Can I get your thoughts on that, you know, not only as a whole on the program, but also for here in Freeport?
Well, I think the 30 by 30, its intentions, I think, are phenomenal. Like I said, I came on a time where I would be the only female on the team. I would be the only female on the roll call. I'd sometimes be the only female and supervisor. I believe that it's how you feel on what you plan to do for yourself. I don't wear this uniform based on gender or based on the way I look or the color of my skin. It is a uniform, it's a badge that I wear, and that's what it is. It has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with serving my officers and serving the city of Freeport.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.